This is Comic Picks by the Glick.
Hey, I'm your host, Jason Glick.
Hey, Jason Glick, what's going on? What's on tap? What you got? What are you gonna pull? What kind of beer are you gonna pull for us tonight? It's actually comics, you know. I always say, "What's on tap for us?" But it's a great analogy. So, what do you have for us?
It is a great analogy. And tonight, well, it's like you can guess by the title, I'm ranking the best of 2022, the best comics that I've read in the past year. It's like I know we're already most of the way into January, but I just needed that extra time to compile this list because some of it was pretty easy. Others, it's like I'm still kind of like wondering, did I do the right thing, for this for this list. But it's like I've got my thoughts on the best, the worst, and the honorable mentions. Honorable mentions, which of course are going first, and just throw those out there. I want to give like shout outs to the Night Eaters, which was a great start for a new series from the creators of Monstrous, Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next with the series, and also hopefully recording a new podcast with Christine for Volume 2 next year. Also, Daisy by Colin Lorimer from Dark Horse, which like it was a crazy series about like a mother looking for her lost daughter, her lost son, and running straight into the horrors of the Book of Enoch, the book of the Bible we don't talk about like in polite company. That if nothing else, stands as a great example of how to write solicitation text that gets me involved in like wanting to see what is this series going to be about. Daisy may not have like lived up to that potential, but it's kind of like something I'd like to see like creators take note of in terms of like hey, this is how you get people invested just when you're writing text about a series rather than showing off any art or script. Then there's Die Dark from Q Hayashida, creator of Dorohedoro, who delivered this new series about it's like about a boy who's being hunted by everyone in space because they believe that his bones can like be their key towards wish, like the kind of wishes they have their wishes granted forever. While it's definitely entertaining in a it's like in a like it's like in a fun science fiction it's like fantasy type way, in that like it's fun seeing like all the kind of craziness that that the creator can like display in this series. It also doesn't quite have like the sense of like direction that I was hoping for, like for the series. Like 5 volumes in, or is it 4? I can't remember. And it's still kind of like coasting on charm and just like general and the general kind of weirdness the series can conjure up at the drop of a hat. So it's not great, but it's like, as I said in one of my reviews, it's a very likable, probably the most likable underachiever series that I'm reading right now. Also, there's No One Left to Fight Volume 2, another series that came back for the second volume after over a year or so off, that Myron and I really liked. But in terms of like series that took a while off to come back with a volume that basically reminds you like how good it was and how much you liked it. Well, it's really only second best on this list, and I'll get back to that later. Then you've got the Kurosagi Corpse Delivery Service Omnibus Volume 5, which I'm just going to put on here just to the fact that I'm glad it actually exists. Because after COVID preempted its original March of 2020 release date, I'm glad that Dark Horse finally was able to release this. And even if like Volume 15 was just kind of like only as good as previous volumes, it was still sort of a good reminder of what I enjoy about this series, and that's just its enjoyable weirdness. It's something I wish we had more of here, and also just Carl Horn just delivering the kind of English localization that I kind of wish like all like mon- all manga translations would indulge in. Volume 6, he does mention that Volume 6 is in the works, but uh, I'm also gonna say I'm gonna have to believe it when I see it, which hopefully will be sometime later next year. And then there's What Did You Eat Yesterday, which is Fumi Yoshinaga's ongoing series about two gay guys. It's like and the food they eat yesterday, like while going on with their daily lives. While this series has been consistently good from the get go, it's like this is the first year that I realized that, oh my god, like it's 18 volumes in, and this series has actually been like progressing in real time, since since that happened, because it's main we this volume has like its main characters dealing with like mortality, like with Shiro. It's like finally like I'm realizing that oh my god, it's like what happens when I pass away. It's like is Kenji gonna be able to like, inherit everything that I like everything of mine. It's like, so do I want to like adopt him as like a workaround for like how gay marriage is not a thing in Japan, or do I want to just keep holding out for the fact that maybe eventually it will be a thing, and I can actually like, have him actually be my lawfully wedded husband. So this is stuff that like I was not expecting to read about over the course of the series, and so on one hand this was kind of like it's like kind of game changer for the series. As for why it's not in the top 10, well, let's just say that Fumi Yoshinaga delivered something that was even better. Something that basically just had me think that maybe this is like the best thing I've read all year. So without further ado, as for the actual stuff that I read was the best of the year, like the top 10, starting from the bottom, and number 10 is Shuna's Journey. It's the now Hayao Miyazaki's reputation as the greatest living director of animation is pretty well established at this point. I mean, it's like the guy could just like not direct another film after this as of right now, but he's currently working on his next film, How Do You Live? It's like as we speak. That being said, he's also delivered what I consider to be the greatest comic book of all time, Nausicaa, The Valley of Wind. Now, like if he had just never done anything else besides that, that'd be fine, because like how do you follow up something like Nausicaa? I mean, just ask Mamoru Oshii, or you can try Head of Seance and ask Satoshi Kon about this when they tried to follow up Nausicaa in the pages of Animage with Seraphim, and it did not go well. But Shuna's Journey was a picture book series that he started around the same time with Nausicaa, and basically told the story of a prince from a poor kingdom trying to leaving his kingdom to try and find like this grain that would hopefully like bring prosperity to it. Things do not go well for him, but at the same time, you can see a lot of the stuff that would influence like Miyazaki's film works is like like a strong female characters and the fantasy aesthetic that would influence Nausicaa. It's not a series that offers like a lot of surprises. Or sorry, it's not a volume that offers a lot of surprises or like like shocking plot twists, but it's just like an example of like it's like a creator just like telling a story that does not take a single false step over the course of its run. And also it's on this list at number 10 simply because like I bought more copies of this like during the holiday season as gifts for friends, like because not only did I give one to John, but I also gave one to my younger niece and the daughter of like some mutual friends as well. So there you go. Number 9 is the best new image series I read last year, and that was What's the Furthest Place from Here by Matthew Rosenberg and Tyler Boss. It's basically a post-apocalyptic story where all that's left in this world are kids, teenagers, and they're just like as foul-mouthed, as unruly as you'd expect, and then also just they're also furthering the tribalistic mentality that that our current society knows and loves. But it also first focuses on one group where one of their members, like a pregnant girl, goes missing, and then they try and find out just what the hell happened to her. One of the things about this first volume is that it had extra sized issues over the course of its run, and while some series have tried that, like specifically Pablo Raimondi's Sacred Creatures, that was just kind of like a chance to just make things like longer and more drawn out, more boring. However, Rosenberg and Boss create this lovably entertaining like a teenage world that's just like actually kind of like endearing, like just because of how the kids are just like thoroughly foul mouthed and just like running by their own, trying to like find out how things in this world work by their own rules and logic. it's a lot of fun, and it's kind of like what you would hope, like we would get from these expanded issues, and that you just get to spend more time with this world that you actually love. And I really appreciated that. So hopefully, so the good news is that it looks like they finally got enough issues that will allow them to put out a second volume like for next year, and hopefully we'll get like a third one, in short order. Fingers crossed there. Next up is number 8, which is The Nice House on the Lake, Volume 1. James Tynion IV has become one of the hottest writers in comics, thanks to his work on Batman, and more specifically, like Something Is Killing the Children, which I think is just more generic than anything else. However, I really enjoyed his work on on the Department of Truth, and I hope that Volume 4 isn't a jumping the shark moment, but more on that when I write the review. But then you've got this series, which basically had a I did not know anything about the series when I started reading it, beyond the fact that this one dude has basically invited all of his old college friends out to his nice house on the lake, as you expect from the title. And while the implication from the solicitation text is that things go wrong, this is that hey, maybe this turns into one big slasher series, that hey, he's crazy, he's going to work out some grudges against them. Well, actually reading the first volume, and it's like, oh wow, I did not expect that. I did not see this coming, from where he's going. It's just it was just a real left turn from my expectations, that I really had to respect, what Tynion was doing here. And also, this is a great example of how the style works, in the sense that, Tynion, doesn't quite deal in progressively weird, twists, but more in grounding your expectations, in relatable character experiences and all. And I think that actually works really well here. Now, it could mean that the second volume just kind of plays out in a fairly pedestrian fashion, but this first volume, I really enjoyed. And just the fact that I really as I grow older, I really appreciate stuff that was really able to upend my expectations, more than anything else. Bonus points that they can stick the landing, which it's is a good way of talking about our next series, A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance by Rick Remender and Andre Lima Araujo. Now, I know that last year I said that I was really looking forward to the end of Remender and Wes Craig's Deadly Class, and while I enjoyed the follow up to the finale to that series, I think that this one was a better example of what I hope to see from Remender going forward. Because while the dude has always been delivered some entertaining dialogue, interesting characterizations, and rock solid action, it's some of his social commentary can be overwritten, or they go way over the line into sanctimony at times. A Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, the story of a insurance actuary who stumbles upon a dark web assassination plot by the rich to just take out some a family who was causing one of their members trouble. It's basically is a very spare, minimalist story, in that Remender does his best to dial back all of his his noted verbosity in the series, that if you've read Deadly Class, or or Black Science, or Death or Glory, or any of his other titles, it's he can be kind of overwritten in a way that I tend to find more entertaining than not. But Righteous Thirst for Vengeance is where he just dials all that back, and just tries to just do a better job of showing you and not telling you, especially courtesy of Araujo's art, who was just spot on over the course of the series. It's a great example of how a creator can show you that they're still capable of new tricks even after all this time. It's and it's also reaffirms my faith in that Remender is someone who I still want to keep following his series. It's whatever he's got planned for us next. As for what's next, well, it's fan service, like really quality fan service in its Lock and Key, the Golden Age from Joe Hill and Gabriel Rodriguez. While Lock and Key as a series finished up properly, like several years back, the Golden Age is a story of the it's like of one of the Kios families, like like 2 generations prior to the family that we knew in the original Lock and Key series. And this collects some stuff that I had already read before, such as like Small World and like Open the Moon. It also talks about collects the miniseries In Pale Battalions Go, which basically answers the question, why don't the members of the Key House family use their key powers of the keys for to make the world a better place? The answer is because they'd probably fuck it up immensely, and that's what we get here in this initial story. That is a awful tragedy as you see the deaths of one of the members of this family, and also how one of them winds up consigned to hell for daring to try and use the keys for to make a better place and ruin things badly. Now, while that would be the ending of that series would be a good ending for a series that has its roots steep in horror, well, that's not what we're getting here because this also collects the Lock and Key Sandman crossover with DC's Sandman. And while Gaiman did offer some guidance like here, this is basically like Hill and Rodriguez doing their tip of the hat to Gaiman's legendary series, and also just like offering like an interesting origin story for the Key to Hell that played a significant role in that series' best arc, Season of Mists. And it's basically all about just trying to undo the tragedy of the previous storyline, but doing it in a way that that is deeply tied to the Sandman mythos, but is done so in a very entertaining way, and also like is very entertainingly comic booky in the sense that how are they going to get out of this? And they do that in a way that I really really enjoyed. So yeah, it's really quality fan service. It's like everyone else who likes tying series into other stuff, take note of this right here. But I also talked earlier about like a series that like came back with a previous volume that reminded me like, hey, this series, this is how you do a proper return after years away, and that would be Farmhand Volume 4 by Rob Guillory. Now, well, I may have been like slightly disappointed by this series in that I was kind of hoping for more of a more comedic series that with Guillory coming off the very entertaining Chew series that he did with John Layman. This one turned out to be like have a lot more serious and also more steeped in horror than I was expecting, and while Volume 3 was an interesting game changer in the sense that that its main antagonist took control of the seed, the stem cell seed that was able to grow like organs and whatever you wanted it to. It's like, and like bend it to her will. Well, she basically still needed the help of the Jedediah family in order to make it work. And that's what happened. Happens here is as they're trying to, as the family is still trying to like keep things under control, even as things are spiraling out, like it's like out in like ways that are crazy as well. And the prominent son of the series is also just dealing with all the stuff that his dad has done, and like it's trying to reconcile with that, even as their antagonist tries to use him for their own ends. It like it's like as I'm reading this, like when you get to the end, it's like and you find out just what's actually going to go down here. It offers some like really good twists and solid developments to the point where Guillory has said that he wants this to be a like 6-volume series, and so he's 2/3 of the way here, and it's like now I really really want to see him get these final 2 volumes out, or if he can just like cram them all into like one more volume. It's like that'd be great. But yeah, Farmhand Volume 4 basically took a while off, and then came back with a story that took its storytelling to the next level. And I can't wait to see what it's going to do next. Another series that also managed to do that, but also wrapped up the story it was telling at the same time, was She Could Fly, Volume 3, by Christopher Cantwell and Martin Morazzo. While the first two volumes of the series, were entertainingly quirky, like in the sense that it took a girl with a massive OCD tendencies who became obsessed with a woman who had a flying device. How she was able to like and how she eventually was able to take work herself into the story of this flying device. Well, it's the first volume had a lot of quirkiness, and it was entertaining. It's both in spite of and because of that. And volume two, just kind of was basically kind of more of that, but also offered offered up a finale that was it's hey, if you're gonna end it right here, then I guess that's fine. But it's just kind of more of what we got in volume one. Volume three, however, is actually a departure, and this basically tells almost the entire story from its protagonist, Luna Brewster's perspective, and that she's gotten out of the hospital from the previous volume after she had some brain surgery that, in order to help correct her OCD, that on one hand, yeah, it kind of worked, but it also made her disassociate from reality in some pretty significant ways, to the point where as you're reading this, you're kind of wondering, okay, what's really going on here, but not in a way that confuses you, but in the sense that you're kind of you're cued in to how she's experiencing reality. And so when she starts saying that now she's the flying woman, you're kind of wondering, oh, what's going on here? It's is this the case? And that's becomes especially problematic when people start dying because they're being dropped by a flying woman. This is I um I wasn't expecting this from the third volume of this series, because we kind of Cantwell and Morazzo had basically established what we'd expect from this series from the previous two volumes. But volume three just did such a good job of upending my expectations that I it's that I really want that it's I that's why I'm putting it here, and why I'm also want to keep reading Cantwell's work, because even though he's his work has basically been a writer who's defined by how quirky and oddball he can make some of his characters and the storytelling beats. This is a reminder that hey, he's actually got the logic to ground this stuff in relatable human concerns, and and also to transcend himself from what we see in a previous volume. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what he does next. And if nothing else, you can probably expect to see my thoughts on his Iron Man series, once the entirety of it hits um, Marvel Unlimited later this year, probably about a month or two. Okay, but now getting to the top three, this is what gave me real trouble, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to make number three number one or number three. Partly that's because of what I put number one last year, and I wasn't sure I wanted to give this do a double number one repeat in this regard, because if you're wondering well, but you gave number one to Tatsuki Fujimoto's Look Back last year. Well, number three this year is his other one shot, Goodbye Eri, which I have not written about this on the site yet for reasons which anyone listening to this should be well aware of them. But hey, we're working on this, and we're gonna get this we're gonna get the reviews back very very soon, almost hopefully immediately. We'll see about that. But Goodbye Eri is a story of a boy who initially we're told was just basically given a a camera, a video camera or a phone with a camera attachment to basically record the last days of his mom's life. And it's well, that seems really heavy stuff to begin with. It's it's initially presented in as about realistic as way you expect, as this kid tries to say show like shows his mother and like and her like and her life as things are going down. But then when he when he can't bring himself to go inside the hospital to like record her last moments, well, we see him running away, and then the hospital blows up in the background, and then it's revealed that we've been watching his movie of this stuff the entire time, and it does not go over well with his schoolmates or his teachers to the point where he's basically considering killing himself because of how they reacted to his decision to film his mother's last days. But as he's about to kill himself by jumping off the hospital's roof, well, a girl, they say, convinces him to like not to do this because she was there, like in the auditorium as his like as his movie was being shown, and as it turns out, she thought it was absolutely incredible. So what she wants him to do is basically film a version of her life. It's like but also after she's shown him like enough movies in order to like for him to understand like what proper movie making skill is. So this isn't just a series about Fujimoto's well known and well avowed love of movies, but it's also a series about just how how people control the narrative about how they're remembered, because it's basically because it isn't just because it's basically a story about how our protagonist um frames Eri's life. It's like in terms of like how he knew her, and also how he controls how she was how she's remembered as well, even if that's not the person she was, like as we find out over the course of the series. And so it's a really interesting meditation on grief and how we deal with these things. And also at the very end, when Fujimoto throws in some real left left turn curve stuff that on one hand it's kind of like, what, really? It's like that on one hand it's like I deeply respect him for doing this, even if it's just kind of like so out there. It's like part of me, like I kind of, like I said, I'm kind of wondering if like I didn't put this at number one because I worried what other people would think about this, but at the same time, it's still a deeply moving and imaginative one shot that just as I did with Look Back, I'm absolutely going to buy this when it comes out in print because it really is that good. And it's like in the finale, it's like in the very final page is so indelible that like that the creators of the Chainsaw Man anime, like the opening sequence, saw fit to include it there. It's like that if you're wondering like where that big building explosion was, that came from. That's a reference to Goodbye Eri. So yeah, it's really fantastic, and it's like maybe I'll write a review about it eventually, but just know that even if I didn't write about it on the blog, this is highly recommended, and you should go out and buy it, as you should. The second place entry on this list, and that is Oku, the Inner Chambers, which for a while I was thinking this was probably going to be like number one on the list, simply because of its ending, which is so transformative and basically did a great job of like just redefining what I thought about this series over the course of its run. Because on one hand, this is a series that basically imagines what if there was a plague that basically turned Japan from a patriarchy into a matriarchy, where men were an endangered species in Japan, and women had to step up and do the dirty business of ruling. And and Yoshinaga did like a really incredible job of of bringing this alternate history to life. It's like over the course of its run, and then at the end, basically like delivered an ending that made me go, "Oh, wow, this is like really cool." It's like you're kind of like trying to rewrite reality at the same time as you're doing this series, and that's incredible. That's some real Department of Truth shit right there. So yeah, that was great. And so while I thoroughly enjoyed it, and that ending like did do a great job of like making me like reading the series estimation in my mind overall, it also had a absolutely painful middle where the bad guys just looked like they were going to win and keep winning and just ruin everyone's day up until the point where they didn't, and we were just, but not because like the good guys were smarter or more clever, but just because they managed to outlast her more than anything else. And it's like, so yeah, I really recommend like people read this series, but that's in spite of how painful like its middle section is, because fuck Harusada. She's I'm glad she died, she went up the way she did, but it was still, I was still hoping that the good guys were going to be like more um, imaginative than what we got here. So, and that's kind of like the delineation between number 2 and number 1 here, because number 1 also had a really fantastic ending, and also but it also didn't have an ending that basically made me go, oh god, rereading this is pain, please let me get through this right now. And that is Tatsuki Fujimoto's other series he released this year, Chainsaw Man. Because, well, I mean, like I talked earlier about how much I love this series with Steve, and by God, the ending of the what's now known as the public safety arc was genuinely fantastic. I mean, I was kind of worried that maybe he had used up all his tricks at the end of Volume 10, but nope, he hadn't. And Volume 11 just delivered a really great finale to that arc. It basically shows you that yes, like Fujimoto, like sure he loves himself in cannibalism. My God, the man can like use this in like really that kind of thing in really interesting ways. And you know what? If the series had ended right there, I guess like I'd be fine with that. Because I think it was a really solid ending, and that was about it. But that's not what happened this year, because he started up the next arc, which is the high school arc, and by God, you have to admire the balls on this man, because he didn't just start this up with oh, it's Denji and he's in high school and things are wacky now because he's Chainsaw Man, but he has to protect his identity from everyone else. Wink. No, that's not what we got here. In fact, we got a whole new protagonist here in Asa, who is who was a socially awkward girl, like trying to get by in high school, and also just does not like Chainsaw Man at all, and but also has to deal with like with being like an average high schooler. It's like in a world where like the devils are becoming more accepted and even like more palatable, in a sense. Like, well, there's a chicken devil in her class now, and like she wants to be she's trying to be like friends with it for the sake of her class, but things go badly, and she winds up becoming friends with the war devil instead. And also, hey, we don't get the war devil, because we get the famine devil, it's like, as well. And basically Asa is trying to like manage her life. It's like as she's like becoming more entangled with this world of devils, but also because she's got it in for a Chainsaw Man. It's like, and she uses him as like like kind of like that like the kind of person who's like more like responsible for like all the ills of the world. And it's not that Denji has been completely forgotten in this series, because he's in high school now, and he's still continuing his money grubbing, girl hungry ways. But he's no longer like the main protagonist of the series, and that's not a bad thing. In fact, like seeing how Asa has ascended to like main protagonist of this, being main character of this, like of this new series, it's like it actually works really well. And seeing how she interacts with Denji is really fun as well. In fact, like as I speak, it's like her whole Denji spinal cord sword bit has just stuck in my head like in a really memorable fashion, especially like when like when it's like when now she tried that and it didn't work, and now she's gonna like go over to Denji's house, and Denji's kind of like, yeah, you can come to my house, but you've got to obey the rules, which I'm sure include don't feed the control devil after midnight. Because if you've read to the end of the public safety arc, you know what I'm talking about here. And it's like it's one thing for a series to deliver like a really satisfying ending, but then to just go past that and also just basically just, chuck a lot of the stuff that made the first series work and then deliver like like an ongoing series that's still really entertaining to see what's going to happen next. Well, that's really special, and that's why Chainsaw Man is my favorite series, my number one series for last year. So, but as far as like the worst stuff goes, well, oh man, what do we got here? It's like we got Checkmate, which is what Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev's, one of the last series they did for DC. And while I'm still waiting on the softcover edition of Bendis's Justice League and Legion of Superheroes, it's deeply kind of a miss, and just kind of like, and even though it's like it's better than their Event Leviathan series, it's just kind of looking back on it, it just kind of feels like like Bendis's DC run just kind of underwhelmed compared to all the stuff he did at Marvel. I mean, he wrote a lot of stuff for DC in a relatively short period of time, but most of it was like was just good ideas rather than just overall good stories. And Checkmate really kind of exemplifies that. There's also Suicide Squad Get Joker, which also features art from Alex Maleev, but is written by Brian Azzarello, and is also kind of a follow up to his Batman stuff that he's worked on for Black Label. And it was just kind of like like dull, uninspired, and didn't really go anywhere. It's like, and he said he had some ideas about like how Jason Todd was meant to be viewed in the context of the DC universe, but he wasn't able to really articulate that in any meaningful way. And his take on the Joker was just kind of like all over the place. So it was just really kind of disappointing. And even though it's like this is like a deluxe oversized hardcover, this is currently on my to sell to book off pile. And then you've got Crazy Food Truck, which even like there's a lot of like seinen manga. It's like feels kind of like an endangered species in the sense that there's not a lot of like stuff that comes out that really like grabs my attention these days, even though it's kind of like the genre of manga that tends to feel like most like in tune with my sensibilities. But this story about a guy running like a former soldier running a food truck in a post-apocalyptic setting who runs into a girl who just loves to eat his stuff. It was just thoroughly uninspired. And while it could have been interesting in a how does someone like deliver this kind of like setup in like a Fist of the North Star type setting, it was just dull, boring. It's like, and just had no imagination to it whatsoever. But still, it's like I still find this preferable to Ray Fox's In the Flood, which was a story of a guy like trying to deal with like a imminent flooding of his house, and also like the divorce of his wife, who also has her own story here, and also, but they're also like telling their own stories that really don't make any sense. I mean, maybe there's like a take on the series that actually is able to untangle all the tortured metaphor of this series, but as it is, this series was just like so thoroughly impenetrable that it's like I just could not get anything out of it. It's like it was like I could maybe see what he was trying to do. That maybe it's a story about divorce and like the waters that separate people over time. But as it is, it's like after I was this is a series like after I read it, it was just kind of like, man, I'm done. To hell with this. This thing went on my to sell the book off pile faster than Get Joker did. So consider that right there. But like we're not going to end this on like like awful stuff. Talk about like stuff that I have hope for in the new year, because hey, Kaguya-sama and and Golden Kamui are both over in Japan, and hopefully Viz will be able to get both of them finished over here. It's like assuming that they don't continue to put them out on the quarterly release schedule. Both of them seem consigned to at this point, because man, it's like I really want to know how they're going to finish up, because both of them are still firing on all cylinders, like as of the time that I'm recording this. Also, we've got like the Kieran Gillen's it's like Judgment Day, his Avengers Eternals X-Men series that I've event series that I've heard good things about, and it's also going to serve as the wrap up to his time on Eternals, which I've enjoyed, and was also kind of disappointed that it's like that it's going to end the way it is right here. It's like, and also, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's like hopefully we'll get another omnibus of the Crusader Corpse delivery service, because they said they're working on it, and we'll see how that goes. And hopefully it's like we'll get more good news about Comixology, because man, it sucks to hear that Amazon is just dismantling the whole the digital comic service that I and so many other people had invested so much in. I mean, obviously, it's just going to basically they're just going to transition everything over to their Kindle Reader type format. But at the same time, it's like I really enjoyed Comixology's app and reading things there and the deals they offered so often. So Amazon, it's like, get your act together. It's like I want to hear nothing but good things from you next year, or better still, that everyone they laid off from Comixology teams up with the former owners, and they're able to deliver a brand new digital comic service that doesn't sell out to Amazon in the end. So there you go. And so yeah, it's like I've got hopes for next year, and hopefully we'll see them. Hopefully we'll see them all fulfilled. But at the same time, I have no doubt that it will be just as hard to pick out a list of top 10 books next year. It's like as it was this year. It's like in the end.
Cool. Well, well, we'll see. Maybe there'll be a surge in new content. You never know, right?
Indeed, yeah,
All right.
definitely think that'll happen.
All right. Awesome. Do you know what you're going to be talking about next time?
Oh man, it's like I think I've got plans. It's like I've got I know I've got my the final volume of Miles Morales by Saladin Ahmed to talk about. I can order the final volume of Loved Ones in Future as well. But so yeah, those could be on tap, or it could be something that I've planned to talk about, but just haven't just I'm just forgetting to talk about right now. So there you go.
All right. We'll talk to you next time on Comic Picks by the Glick.
All right, later, everyone.